monitored or recorded.
Hello.
Hey, it's Mike.
Hey, Mike.
They shut the phone off last night because the time was right at 10 o'clock is when they shut off.
Yeah, I kind of figured they probably shut the phone systems down on you.
William was wanting the charge. Do you have that, the 18 U.S.C. 99G1?
Yeah, I think I found your. I looked up your case number on Pacer, and I found a lot of information, and I did send him some stuff.
Okay, here's the thing. Look at that indictment. You're going to notice some interesting things. Number one, the basis of the charges interfering with interstate commerce. All right, and if you go to the United States Constitution, Article 1, Section 8, the Congress shall have the power to regulate commerce between the foreign nations and the states, among the states, and among the Indian nations. So when there's commerce between the states and Indian nations, or between the states, or between foreign nations and states, that's when they have the power to regulate it. They do not have the power to regulate commerce amongst the people, nor do they have the power to regulate commerce between Indian nations. So nothing that they can claim that I'm doing gives them power over that, because I'm one of the people, and I'm involved with a Native American nation that's not them, and that nation is not engaged in commerce with the United States or any state.
I got you. Yeah, I've got the indictment brought up right in front of me. It says, did knowingly possess in and affecting interstate commerce a firearm and ammunition. So it does mention interstate commerce.
What they're coming after is they're making it a Commerce Clause issue. They don't dare say, we're coming after you because you're Second Amendment rights. Yeah.
You know, another thing that's absolutely insane, the more I think about it, is you didn't show up in court. Okay, well, a lot of people don't show up in court, but they don't get sentenced to 3 years in prison. That's absurd that they would give you that long a time.
Yeah, that's what you look up under the constitutional 8th Amendment, cruel and unusual punishment, I believe it is. And also the 8th Amendment talks about reasonable bail. I was out for 2 years. For $500, a $500 bond, I was out for 2 years. Every month I showed up in court because they were giving me a directive to appear. Every time I had a directive to appear, I was there by special appearance. But because they never had jurisdiction, they dismissed the case. They actually dismissed it, and he was trying to use a motion I had to dismiss, citing I never got a preliminary hearing. And I said, I withdraw that motion. Before he ever ruled, I withdrew the motion. He was forced to withdraw the indictment anyway because they never had jurisdiction over me. And they will not admit that, but that was the fact. What they used to call failure to appear is contempt of court. The most you would ever get was 10 days in jail. You know, if the guy says, I'm just not going to come there, I just not going to do it. Okay, belligerent, 10 days in jail, $50 fine, boom. But if you're somebody who said, man, I forgot, look, I work, I'm busy, I've got a life, I forgot, totally forgot about it, I thought it was next week. Okay, well, $50 fine, and we're going to reschedule this, and come in. And no jail time. I've talked to many people that had missed court before. This is something new in Tennessee. Tennessee has made a felony out of not showing up for court, regardless of the reason.
Yeah, that is insane.
It is criminal. And the people need to stand up and raise holy you-know-what about it, because it's destroying lives. They're taking, look at the amount of investment in my life, going to college, doing all the things that I've done the right way, all the things that I've invested in to build for the future, to be independent, self-sufficient, and self-governing. Now the government is taking all of that away, and it's destroying all the value that's in this country. You know, there's intrinsic value in knowledge and people's integrity. Integrity is one of those words they don't talk about. People doing the right thing for the right reasons, every time, all the time, that's a hard commodity to find. But that's a standard that I've tried to live up to my whole life, because that's just the way I was raised. You do the right thing. You do what you're supposed to do, and you help people, but you don't let people run over you. And that's why I'm standing up to this corrupt government when, unfortunately, too many people are sitting back on the sidelines, because somebody's got to do it. The only reason we've got all the corruption going on now is because our family, our parents, well, they were either too busy or uneducated. They just didn't know. And some of them, well, they just didn't want to stick their head out and deal with it. I know back in the 1800s, they just didn't have the education. They didn't know what was going on. They were fooled. But fraud negates consent. I've not consented. My parents didn't consent. So that birth certificate is void on its face. No one knew that it's going to tie you to some kind of a trust fund where they're going to market you on the internet to mutual funds and create a money market or some type of a mutual fund account and utilize you as a package in a warehouse. I mean, it's ridiculous. They're trafficking in people to make money, and that's where people that are investing in mutual funds don't realize it, that a lot of their money is going into.
No, I think you're right, Mike, and the reason I think you're right is because anybody that says anything similar to what you're saying right now ends up tortured, in prison, or dead. I mean, there's.
Let me tell you about torture. When I was there, the U.S. Marshals tried to tell me to go here and go there, and when they got to the courtroom, I said, nope, I don't consent to this. That is a foreign administrative tribunal. That is not a legitimate court, and I had no business there. The guy grabbed me by the shackles. I'm shackled at my wrist and at my ankles, and there's a chain connecting them. He grabs me by that chain, and I realize I'm 6'5". I'm probably 180 pounds now. I'm slowly gaining weight from when I was starving to still. He yanked me off my feet, threw me to the floor, inside the courtroom.
Wow.
And then picked me up and threw me down in the chair. 2 of them. Now, I'm assaulted right there in a vast room in another country with people that don't understand that foreign countries do exist that you don't know the names of, and the Chilcoot Indian Nation is one of those. It's a small country. They have the right to exist. The United States is a signatory to the Montevideo Convention, and under Articles 1 through 8, it talks about the inherent right of any country to exist, whether they have the power to enforce, their action is irrelevant, that every country has the right to exist. Their people, they've got a defined territory, they've got a population, they've got a governance, they've got everything that every other legitimate country has. Canada, on the other hand, is not actually a real country. It's a colony of Great Britain. Until the 50s, it flew the Union Jack. They don't do what they want there at the whim of the Queen of England and Parliament. And, they used Great Britain's passports up until 20 years ago. So that ought to tell you, they're not a country all their own. They're a colony. But yet they've got a court up there that the United States recognized. And I said, great, you recognize Canadian courts. Well, the Chilcoot Nation versus British Columbia should show you right there. In that case, the Canadian court recognized the sovereign nation of the Chilcoot Nation has been there for over 1,000 years and predate contact with Europe, and therefore they recognize them as the indigenous First Nation people with all the inherent rights to do as they please with their land.
Hey, just curious, Mike, how many people are part of the Chilcoot Nation? Do you have an idea of the numbers?
I don't. The territory is probably 3 times the size of the state of Tennessee. You've got recognized 6 indigenous tribal groups that make up the Chilcoot, but beyond that, there's others, like the Shuswap is one that is not officially in that 6, but yet they consider themselves part of the Chilcoot Nation. So there's, I would say, probably, I'm guesstimating about 30,000 in the 6. We're talking about hereditary bloodline Chilcoot and tribal members. Now, amongst those are non-hereditary people that are also tribal members.
Yeah.
I'm sure three-quarters Cherokee, but I was adopted by the Chilcotin Nation, by the Grand Chief Stanley Stump Sr. himself, because of my knowledge of the culture and the traditions, and I get sovereignty. It's all about self-determination. It's what we're supposed to be doing, and not being subjects and slaves of somebody else. The Native American view self-governance, we're all equal. It's linear. It's not vertical. Europeans have a vertical system where everybody is subject to somebody else. The only entity that you're subject to in the Native American tradition is your creator. That's it.
Amen.
I think if you look at the Bible, you'll probably find that that's what God prescribed.
Amen. Amen, Mike. Hey, just curious also, did you go to court Monday? Because I thought you had some sort of trial, and did they tell you anything new about what's going on?
That was supposed to be the arraignment, and I challenged it because I'm not that corporate fiction that they've got on that paper, that all capital letter name on the indictment is actually recognized by the U.S. Printing Style Manual as a corporation of trust, a dead entity, and that's not me. What they try to do is trick you into converting yourself from the beneficiary of the trust to the trustee. And I told them myself, I'm the beneficiary. I showed them an authentic, original birth certificate. I said, I submit this to you as proof that I am the beneficiary. So therefore, I order you to pay off any debts for this charge and release me immediately. And we'll discuss compensation for my inconvenience at a later date. And she just ignored me. But one thing interesting, this is crucial. When I asked him, I said, you got a claim against this trust. I said, where is the bond? Every time there is a claim made by the government, the state, they have to also issue a bond in case they don't prevail, and they've got to be the one to pay. So where's the bond? Well, they immediately started talking about, oh, you want a bond to be released so you can get out of jail. That's not at all what I asked about. It's like a performance bond. It's called a bid bond, an appearance bond. This is something that the issuer of the claim has to put forward. Let's say you want to go sue somebody. You got to pay a filing fee, and if you want to tie up somebody's property, a replevins bond is required where you have to put up funds to cover the value of that property that you're tying up. Or the person that you're suing might have to put up a bond as collateral to keep utilizing that property. So if he wants to divest himself of that property, there's a bond there to cover it. If you've ever been in a small contracting business where you have a performance bond, you would understand what I'm talking about. This is all commerce, and if I hadn't had years of experience in contract negotiation when I was with FedEx and management in my small businesses as a licensed general contractor and building inspector and assisting people doing construction projects, I would be lost. But because I have that background, I kind of get a clue. I know what's really going on here.
You know, I don't know if we've talked about this before. I might have asked you before, but the Montana Freeman, I communicate with a guy by the name of Russell Landers, and he speaks a great deal about these sorts of things as well. And so I don't know if you're aware of the Montana Freeman or Russell Landers. Leroy Schweitzer was Leroy Schweitzer. This was in the 1990s. He talked a lot about these sorts of things being, they were human trafficking and bonds and corporate fictions, and they tortured him and killed him in prison. So this truth that you're talking about, they consider a very dangerous truth, and they don't want to hear anything about it, and they're trying to get rid of anybody who's talking about such things.
Right, and that's no doubt why I'm here, is because they're afraid of the truth. The truth is exposing that what they're operating is a business. It's not a government. It's not about justice. It's a business, and the more people they have on the dole as bureaucrats, and the more people that are dependent upon them, the more comfort they have in knowing that.
Okay, that doesn't give any warning. It just cuts him off in mid-sentence. I don't know if that's the prison was listening in, and then it just cut him off or what, but I didn't hang up. It just cut him off in mid-sentence.